What's going on, everybody? Welcome on in. I'm Maslon Hudjavandi, joined by Michael Langston, recruiting analyst for Warchant.com, Austin Cox, a writer for Warchant.com. He does a whole bunch of stuff for us here on the Ultimate Seminoles Sports Source. Hit the subscribe button in the lower right corner of your screen. We certainly would appreciate it. Also, hit the thumbs up, right? Michael, like and spike, I think they say on the Jeff Cameron show, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Hit it hard, and just don't hurt your computer. But definitely hit it. But certainly hit that, and that helps us promote all these things. Obviously, it's prediction times is a big thing. We got a lot of features coming up. Obviously, a million hours of signing day coming up tomorrow with me and Aslan and the group. So it's going to be fun. So yeah, hit the like button, helps us promote everything.
All right, so Wednesday is signing day. We're recording this right now, Tuesday evening, looking into the crystal ball, I guess, making some predictions on where we think the top recruits are going to go. But before we start with that, though, Michael, just how excited are you for tomorrow and what we got cooking?
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Before we get started, just something I noticed on Seminoles.com. There's a they list all the guys getting ready for Tribe 22. That's where they're going to list all of them. The first guy they had on there was Destin Hill. They had it on there. I don't know if they put it on there early and then they took it off. So that might be something to watch for tomorrow. That Destin Hill will be on there. So it sounds like there's some positive. I would take it as positive. So just something I noticed. So I just wanted to point that out before we get started on the predictions.
All right, Wednesday's going to be super busy. Lots of guys have already been committed that we're looking forward to getting those faxes. Travis Hunter, welcome home. Can't wait to see a big guy. But there's also guys on the fence, so we're going to find out about them. If you're here to wonder what's going on with Javonte Barnes and Kevin Coleman, we'll talk about at the end, but they're not committing on Wednesday, so we'll save them towards the end of the show. With that said, we shall begin with you, Michael Langston. Julian Armelo, offensive lineman, 5-star, legacy. Please. All the stars are lining up right there, man. What do you see Julian doing on Wednesday?
Yeah, I think ever since all these coaching changes happened, and certainly FSU got him in for an official visit. I think everything was trending really good for Julian, and I think it's going to trend better, even better on Wednesday that he picks FSU. I think the relationship with Atkins, the relationship with Norvell, seeing where he fits. Actually, early in the season we were talking about Elijah Pritchett, that he would be in there, but yeah, that didn't happen, and that might have benefited FSU with Julian. So certainly, I think things fell into place with FSU, and I think on Wednesday, I think he will pick FSU. I think that will be a school, and certainly that's big news for definitely FSU getting a 5-star offensive tackle, or even if you don't think he's a 5-star, really solid offensive lineman in this class. It's a big deal, and certainly a legacy with his dad playing at FSU. So I think those reasons are why I would pick FSU.
All right. Let's go to our staff writer, Austin Cox. Austin, you've been around this now for about over a year, living this dream that is covering Florida State, recruiting, everything with the team involved. Where do you think Julian Armelo will be going when he puts pen to paper?
Yeah, definitely. Not too much to add here. I definitely agree with Michael. I've got Julian Armelo going to Florida State as well, and really the thing that stands out the most is just the fact that historically Florida State, really in the recruiting era, hasn't had as much hasn't had as good of time signing high ranking 5-star offensive linemen. So he really stands out. I mean, he's probably the best that Florida State has signed since arguably Bavion Johnson or maybe Dante Lucas. So you're looking at almost maybe he might be the probably the best highly touted guy in almost half a decade.
Awesome. All right, man. I like the way that sounds. Games are won in the trenches, gentlemen. So, Michael, you got to have it on the defensive line as well. Tyree West, a 5-star, been flirting with Florida State. Is his heart with Georgia? Is his heart in Tallahassee? Is it Athens, Tallahassee? What's going to happen on Wednesday, do you think, with Tyree West?
Yeah, I don't anticipate him signing with Georgia. I think they've gotten so many guys that certainly they could have chance to move a guy out, even if it's a 5-star. So I don't think Georgia's in the picture, even though it says Georgia commit. I think it's Tennessee, Florida State, or Auburn, and I think it's going to be FSU. I think location certainly helps FSU. Obviously, relationship with Kenyatta Watson we've covered that. They go way back. There's ties there. There's also the connection he has with Odo Hagens. Obviously, I've mentioned location. It's not too far away. Tift County. I've driven there many a times. Not too far, close to home. And I think just he likes what he's seeing from this defensive line, and that kind of showed, in the Miami game and just games last, all year long of what this defensive line can do. And I think that's really enticing to him, and I think he's going to pick FSU when it's time to announce, and I think everything seems to fit with FSU with Tyree West.
Austin, what do you think about Tyree West, 5-star defensive lineman here for Florida State, possibly Wednesday?
Oh, yeah, again, I agree with Michael very strongly. Probably on this list, I would say Tyree West to Florida State would probably be the pick that I would feel the most confident about. I feel like they nailed the past 2 visits that he visited, pretty recently, twice in the past 2 months. I think Florida State nailed both of those visits, and definitely agree with Michael, Tyree West to FSU.
All right, let's keep it with defensive linemen. Let's get back into the legacy game, though. MJJ, Marvin Jones Jr., gentlemen. You're going up against Goliath, Michael. You're going up against Alabama. What's not to like about Alabama? Is there anything to not like about Alabama that would make Marvin Jones Jr. Send a fax to Mike Norvell and Florida State on Wednesday?
No, I mean, there's nothing there. I mean, you have Alabama, you have Georgia, you have Florida State. I think those are the 3 teams that I've always consistently heard. I think people forget that he liked Georgia a lot, even when he liked FSU in the spring. He talked up Georgia. Obviously, he's always talked up Alabama. I think both of those teams, you would think they have an advantage in the NIL department, even though I've heard FSU put a really good package together. But at the same time, when you're battling those teams are on top. They're there or at least last few years, they've been right on top in the playoff, competing for the SEC championship. FSU is a program trying to turn around. And I think Marvin believes in everything they're doing. I don't think there's anything FSU could have done differently. They recruited him hard from the beginning. They were on him harder than anybody early. I just think in the end, I think Georgia has the relationships. I think with Alabama, it's more business all the time. And, I think I loves Alabama a lot, but I think that Georgia, there was kind of a personal connection with the coaches. And that's why I picked Georgia with him based on what I've heard the last, 24 hours. I just felt like that's the way it's trending. I think on paper, I mean, before this weekend when he visited Georgia, I was kind of like, yeah, I think it's going to be FSU, Alabama. I went back and forth. There was certain things I think he liked about FSU. Obviously, his heart is with FSU, but Alabama is Alabama as far as on the field. But then I got more intel on that Georgia visit, and it seemed to overtake both of those. And I think that's kind of where I stand. I'll also say, I mean, I'm picking Georgia, but at the same time, I don't think any decisions made. I don't think he's called anybody and told, "Hey, I'm coming." So this could still be a fluid situation. But I like Georgia right now. Doing our prediction show. That's why I think it's going to be Georgia.
What about you, Austin? Did the slingshot do enough to win over Marvin Jones Jr.?
Well, yeah, it definitely came really close. I've got Marvin Jones Jr. going to Alabama. But I think it was, really close decision for him. And just echoing what Michael said, it's not like Florida State did anything wrong here. Just on a big picture, they're a team that went 5-7 last year, going up against 2 programs that were ranked number 1, number 3 going into championship Saturday last week. So a couple weeks ago. So it was a really tough matchup for them, recruiting matchup for them to land Marvin Jones Jr.
Yeah, and I will say too, I mean, people talk about it's like, well, you forecast him so early. It's like, yeah, that was before really he had started taking visits. It really seemed like it was going to be Florida State. It really looked like. Now, when you went through, and then you had certain parts in the season with Jacksonville State that started to dip it down and hurt them. Obviously, they responded with the Miami game, which was massive for Marvin. You don't win that game, I don't even think they have a shot. I don't think it's even in discussion or this close. So that's what people have to remember with these forecasts. It's fluid. It's going to change based on when he takes visits and just the feeling, and then breaking everything down. I've heard the family's going to get together tonight, break down the pros and cons, and then they'll make a decision. Tomorrow I think he's announcing at 4:40. So, we'll see. I mean, he's gone back and forth on who he likes, but as of now, Georgia's the way I got to go. Austin's certainly going with Alabama, but that's kind of where we feel things stand going into, I guess, tomorrow.
Here's a fun one. Azari Thomas liked LSU. That coach got fired. Liked Florida. That coach got fired. Liked Oklahoma. That coach left. And here, amongst the ashes, Mike Norvell's like, "Hey, man, I still love you. Do you love me?" So what do you think, Michael? Azari Thomas from Niceville, is that a guy that could be coming to Tallahassee on Wednesday?
Yeah, I think the biggest misconception with Azari is that FSU, wasn't on him, because all these other schools had took the lead at some point. LSU, one point it was LSU, then it was Oklahoma, then it was Florida. All these different teams were involved, but FSU was very consistent and they stayed in there. They were kind of lingering in the bushes, waiting to pounce, and then they got their opportunity. Things opened up, and I think Azari deep down always liked FSU a lot. I mean, he really connected with Woodson. It's close to home. Certainly, he loves kind of the way he's going to be utilized in there, both as an offensive weapon and a defensive weapon, at either safety or corner. So I think it's going to be FSU. I feel really good about my forecast with FSU on Azari Thomas, and I just think once I saw his reaction of how the visit went when I talked to him afterwards, I could tell, like, because going into that visit, he was kind of unsure if he was going to sign early, and then right after that visit, he was like, "Yes, I'm definitely signing next week." And the way he talked about the visit, where it was stuff that he hasn't seen before, so you could see he had a connection, his mom had a connection. You just felt like everything, they nailed it 100% of what they wanted to accomplish on that visit. So I think tomorrow they're going to get another talented prospect from the Panhandle.
What about
Yeah,
you,
like-
Austin? Do you agree with this dude, Michael Langston?
yeah, we definitely agree on this one. I've got Azari Thomas going to FSU as well, and like you said, Aslan, it was definitely he was kind of there for the taking with the way things played out with some of his other options, and Florida State did what they had to do to seal the deal there.
He's a cool one, man. 6'3", 175, got us a little bit of everything. This could be something that we'll talk about here in a few years, Michael, probably as a real coup.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I've seen Azari about two or three times, and I think Rivals 100 player. I think he's even, you could argue, top 50. I think he's that good. I'm very high on him. Every time I've watched him, he's been dynamic. He's been one of the best players on the field. So yeah, that would certainly be a massive addition for FSU tomorrow.
All right. So those are most of the guys that are kind of been leaning towards Florida State, maybe trending a little bit. Well, let's go to some of the more 50-50s or the guys that might be a little bit more of a difficult pull. I don't know if there's anybody I would rather have maybe a surprise. People ask about surprises on the recruiting chats, Michael. There's not a lot of them, but maybe a guy like Nigel Kelly could be a surprise. Well, let's go speed round here. What do we think about Nigel Kelly maybe leaving Miami, coming up north?
Yeah, I think he talked up Oregon a lot. If you listen to Nigel Kelly when he visited over there, and so the one connection there was obviously Mario Cristobal. He went to Miami, obviously getting that job. So that kind of secured it for me. Why I think it's going to be Miami, because he had already had high interest in Miami. Obviously, decommitted from FSU to kind of make sure of the decision. But I think with Cristobal getting there, I think that just kind of solidified, like, hey, I don't have any questions. I love this coach. Obviously, I liked Oregon a lot. So when you match everything up, I think everything just fits that Nigel Kelly's going to pick Miami. But hey, it's recruiting, man. You never know what kid's going to do. But I would side that he's going to pick Miami.
Austin?
Yeah, I've got Nigel Kelly going to Miami as well. It's just like Michael said, it's kind of just lines up perfectly for the Canes to get him, and with Cristobal heading to Miami, and that's just likely where he'll go.
All right. Sticking with Miami and recruits, I think this might be the one that you'd like to see flip maybe more than anybody, Michael. And that would be Wesley Besante. They're not going down without a fight. Will there be a surprise on Wednesday when it comes to Wesley Besante?
Yeah, I'm kind of, it's kind of one of those, I'm going against kind of the FSU confidence, because I think there is some confidence from the staff of that they feel there's a shot. But for me, he grew up a fan of Miami. His mom grew up a fan of Miami. He committed to Miami. They got the last visit. I mean, he's in Miami. I just think it's going to be really difficult. I'm not going to put myself out there and say, oh, they're going to get him. I just have a feeling he's going to end up. I mean, there's going to be a lot of excitement and see if he sticks, but I think in the end, for me, I think he's going to stick with them and stick with the Canes of the team he's committed to. But I think Austin has a different view on the point.
Yeah, I think if you're looking for a surprise for Florida State to get somebody that you might not be favored to get tomorrow, I think it will be Wesley Besante. I think when he selected Miami a few weeks ago, it's been a Florida State Miami battle. It's been just between them two for so long now that he has valued both of them. I think he's been very interested in both of them from what I have gathered. And I think Florida State definitely still has a chance to flip him tomorrow.
Travis Hunter, we still don't know if he'll be a receiver or defensive back, but they need all the help they can get in the secondary.
Mm-hmm.
Just the way the game's played this day and age. Michael, JUCO ranks is usually kind of a good place to find some of that hidden talent. DeCarlos Nicholson, what are your thoughts on him? What are your senses with him and his decision coming up?
Yeah, that's one where I really struggled with that pick because the feeling I got coming out of his official visit was he's indicated to FSU that, hey, I'm coming. That's the indication I got. Hey, I'm coming. I've heard a few other places he's been. He's done that similar thing, so I couldn't kind of use that basis on that as far as FSU feelings. There is confidence there. Now that's one where I was close to picking FSU, but also I went the cautious approach and I picked Mississippi State. But that would not surprise me if FSU got a surprise with him because there is enough confidence where there's not enough like in-home pressure that I feel like he's definitely going to a certain school like Kentucky or Mississippi State or Ole Miss. I think there's enough. And the other thing of why that is like Slade Buckley is an analyst on Florida State. He is very close with that family. I mean, it's not just like, hey, we know you, as a guy, he grew up around this family with the Nicholson family. So Slade knows these guys really well. Nicholson likes Woodson a lot. So that's, for me, that's one to watch just in case maybe a surprise here and there. But I got MSU right now, so I'm going kind of against the FSU context of what they say, but I'm kind of going to go with Mississippi State, and we'll see what happens. But that was the one that I struggled the most with in making a pick on.
And you, Austin?
Well, I mean, if they get DeCarlos Nicholson, if Florida State lands DeCarlos Nicholson and Azari Thomas, then good Lord, I mean, how many star defensive backs do they need? I mean, that's going to be an incredible secondary class if that happens. But I have him going to Kentucky.
Okay. All right, that's a good one. It says it on the screen, so got to go with the trend sometimes. All right, let's keep it rolling here then, Michael, as we wind things down here. Stay with the defensive backs. Earl Little Jr. This one feels. I mean, I'm be honest. I'm surprised we're talking about it. Why are we talking about it? Why is there hope?
I think just because Earl's flirted with FSU a little, he's been to FSU like 3 times. So the things he says, the connection he has with Woodson, I think he likes what their secondary's doing. If you watch that secondary, it's fun. I mean, it's a fun defense to watch. I mean, they can make plays, they can force turnovers, I think Earl's just had Alabama on his mind from the start. I think once Alabama pushed, and there was a sign that, look, they're probably not getting a few other guys. I think there was kind of a small bit of hope of, hey, there might not be room for him, but I don't think that's the case anymore. I think he's definitely going to be a take for Alabama, and that's where I expect him to land. That's just the place he's always mentioned. I know Miami is a school that people bring up because his dad played there, but I just think Alabama's been on his mind from the start, and I'm going to stick with that.
Yeah, and Florida State, they did well to be in the race here with Earl Little, but I never felt like they were positioned to land him necessarily from what I gathered. And Alabama always felt like the school for him, and that's my pick as well for Earl.
I mean, it was worth a shot though, guys, right? Maybe prove us wrong, Earl. Prove us wrong, man. Be a strong, brave man. All right, and this one might be the most interesting target to keep an eye on Wednesday, and that's Kamari Wilson. Georgia feels like that's a strong pull, but there's this kind of weird undercurrent that's been going on for the last 2 weeks, Michael, with Kamari Wilson and Florida State. What's your read on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a personal connection to Florida State. I mean, I think the other schools like Florida and Alabama, they've been consistently good on the field, but I think there's a connection of what's building at FSU that he likes. Obviously, all the emoji eyes it gets people excited, and it's like something's going on, and maybe a surprise and a shocker comes with Kamari. I just think he's going to pick Georgia. I think Florida made a strong run. He visited there over the weekend, but I think it's kind of like Earl Little with Alabama. I think Kamari's always been linked to Georgia. Obviously, Kirby Smart there. Former DB. He's played DB. I think that's attractive to Kamari that your head coach is a former DB, so he knows what you're going through. He knows your mindset. So I just think he's going to pick Georgia at the end of the day. But it's certainly one I'll monitor. But especially with all the the buzz here and there about FSU and Florida. But I mean, really, the most buzz I've heard as far as from people in contact, it's been between Florida and Georgia. But I think in the end he's going to pick Georgia.
Yeah, and the late buzz with him was interesting, but I've got him going to Georgia as well.
All right. Well, do something cool, Cox. Do something cool. Uh, show Austin what it's like to flip and give somebody some good.
Oh yeah, prove me wrong, man.
Yeah, man.
There
We'll
you go.
welcome you in here with open arms. All right, then. So let's with those guys set up. These are the guys that are going to be announcing on Wednesday. There's still two really big fish out there that are going to be waiting until maybe the calendar flips to 2022. Michael, Javonte Barnes is a guy that it seemed like Oklahoma would be a strong pull for him, but Florida State has not gone down without a fight with him. He obviously has some East Coast ties. He's not a Vegas guy, so. What's going to be, before I guess maybe you give us your prediction, what's going to be maybe the most important thing to happen between now and when he decides to make his announcement public?
Well, it would be nice if Dillingham would tell us if he's staying or going. I mean, that would kind of help the cause. I mean, because he's like, you're waiting around. So that I think that hurts, just the uncertainty of not knowing if Dillingham's going to be there. But I think the thing I have to go back to, and I talked to Javonte several times, either both in person, which he was phenomenal, and then over the phone a week later after he visited FSU. And I think that my takeaway was that the one guy that he always mentioned that he's really tight with, and even when he was about to commit to Oklahoma the first time, was DeMarco Murray, the former running back with the Dallas Cowboys, former running back at Oklahoma. I think there's such a strong connection there that I just think he's going to pick Oklahoma. I think the trendy pick would be SC because a lot of his friends are going there. But I think in the end, from what I hear, it's going to be Oklahoma. That's the pick that I think is going to happen because of DeMarco. And DeMarco was the main reason that he wasn't going there because of Lincoln Riley. He likes Lincoln, but I think the main guy that was always in there that connected with him was DeMarco. And so that's my ties of why I think it will be Oklahoma. As far as FSU, I think he really liked Dillingham. He offered him first, but I think the connection personally with the running backs coach, it's really oversees that relationship with Dillingham. So regardless of what Dillingham does, I think they still probably wouldn't have got him. So I think he's going to Oklahoma.
Yeah, this one it's really complicated with the uncertainty surrounding Kenny Dillingham, and just to echo what Michael said, and that's kind of throwing a monkey wrench in it, both with Javonte Barnes and kind of Kevin Coleman with their decisions. But yeah, I have him going to USC, but I believe he'll stick with Riley. I think if USC pushes strong enough that they'll be able to get him over Oklahoma, but that's definitely a toss up between them two, kind of.
All right, last but certainly not least, or Michael, we're about to say something. I feel like I interrupted you.
No, you didn't.
Last but certainly not least, made my heart sink a little bit because I didn't realize he was going to wait until January. And that's Kevin Coleman. I don't like that because I feel like Cristobal is going to have more time in Miami to try to flirt with this guy and pull him away from maybe the clutches that Florida State had. But then again, did you ever really have the guy if he didn't sign his name on the paper? That said, Michael, Kevin Coleman, man, 5-star receiver. There could be guys' careers on the line based on what he determines
or jobs,
he college. Yeah,
or jobs.
Yeah, man.
Or jobs.
So, what's your feel on Kevin Coleman as we sit here on Tuesday evening?
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff to unpack on this one. First of all, he's not announcing until January, but I've heard he might make a decision in December, and sometime before that January. So the decision might already be made way before that January announcement. The other thing, the Dillingham thing doesn't like. Now if Dillingham leaves, I probably don't think he's going to pick FSU, but I don't think the uncertainty hurts FSU as much here because he's really tight with Dugans. He's really tight with Norvell. He's really tight with a lot of guys that are on that staff. So this isn't like Barnes where it's just, Dillingham's the guy. I mean, this is a guy that there's several connections there. He loves it at FSU. He knows he would play early, likely start, I would think. And so he knows he likes the system. He likes how they're growing. He's really tight with AJ Duffy. He's really tight with a lot of people at FSU. His assistant coach is Tommy Polly over there at St. Mary's High School. So connection to FSU. So I think there's a lot of things to like about FSU. And I the reason I stuck with FSU was because of the relationships that are already there. And I don't think the Dillingham factors in at this point until there's a decision from Dillingham. Now, if Dillingham leaves, then, I'll probably change my mind, but or rethink it or readdress it. But I think, and then there are other dynamics that go into that. It's like, okay, Kevin said one of his dream schools was Oregon. Well, what happens if Dillingham goes there? He likes Dillingham. That's his main recruiter. Or does he go to Miami and not mess with that and, goes to Miami because he likes Cristobal? Certainly they got the last visit. So I think there's a lot of dynamics to unpack with this one that we still have a little ways to go before we get to crunch time. But for me, I would pick FSU because of those reasons. The long-standing relationship. FSU was always a team that was consistently mentioned throughout his whole process of loving them, and you really just felt like he wanted to be a part of this change. So those are the reasons I stuck with FSU.
Austin, he's smack dab in the middle of this country, so home field's not playing any sort of factor in this. So what do you got with Kevin Coleman?
Yeah, I know that's definitely true. And I mean, of all the guys on the list, we've got this story up on Warchant.com with our picks. Kevin Coleman was probably the one that I waffled with the most. That was the toughest for me to pick. He's a guy that I think is very, very genuinely interested in Florida State. Like Michael said, he's a guy that's visited, 3 or 4 times since June, and all those visits went extremely well. And he's also a guy that has a lot of relationships with not only the staff, but he's also very close with FSU quarterback commit AJ Duffy and several other commits in Florida State's class currently. So, that's going to be tough. The news with the lack of news, the possibilities with Dillingham, that could change some things. But I think, he always has talked about Oregon as well as his dream school. So I think if Dillingham did go to Oregon, I think they would be the favorite. But even if he doesn't go there, if Dillingham's at Florida State still, I still think Oregon could land Coleman.
Yeah, and then the other dynamic in that is like, what if FSU decides or he decides like, you know what, I don't want to screw over Coach Norvell. If Dillingham does go to Oregon, he decides not to push, because I think that's going to happen with Duffy. I don't think they're going to touch him. Even if Dillingham leaves, I think Duffy, that's Norvell's guy. But that could be a dynamic that plays into it, which I would lean towards Miami if Dillingham left. So that's kind of where I sit on that. But it's something I'll have to do a lot of study, digging to make sure to see if Dillingham would go after him. So there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of factors in this one that we don't know. And it all starts with Kenny Dillingham. So Kenny, let us know, man. What's up?
I think we'll get some clarity from that on Wednesday, but maybe we'll even break it live when we figure out if he's staying or going. And it starts at 8 a.m. on Wednesday, National Sign Day Live, brought to you by ABC Fine Wine and Spirits. 7 hours of live coverage and analysis. Michael Langston will be giving you all the information you need to know. We'll go from about 8 to noon, and then from 1 to 3, it will become the Jeff Cameron Show with he and Tom Lang. We'll have the YouTube chat going. We'll be joining in live at signing ceremonies that are on Instagram. So we are your one-stop shop for National Signing Day. And hey, subscribe to the website, and you wouldn't have to sat through this 30-minute video to find out where all these kids were going. You could have just clicked on a story and found it all like 2 minutes. But if you're a subscriber and you watch this video, we love you. We appreciate it. Michael's super busy. Austin is too. Thanks for joining us, guys. We certainly appreciate it. Stay connected to warchant.com.